Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of our Justice and Pieces guest speaker series. As we've been talking with the OPA Board of Directors candidates of the upcoming AGM and elections, hopefully on Saturday this week, so in just a couple of days. As always, the views and opinions are of the candidates alone. They don't reflect me, Trials College, Justice and Pieces, or any other organization that I'm affiliated with. Today we have Yuri joining us. So Yuri, first of all, thanks for taking the time to speak with me. And maybe you can tell anyone listening, and especially the OPA members that may come across this, a little bit more about yourself.
Well, I have wide legal background almost within Canadian jurisdiction, within different set of law. A few years ago, as you know, I took paralegal course. You taught me, and since then I slowly moved from my previous practice, which is not relevant to today's conversation. Today I'm basically full-time working as a paralegal. I'm pretty busy. I have many, like a few dozens of ongoing actions in small claims court, about 100. And I deal also with a few different colleges of medical specialty, like College of Physicians, College of Naturopaths. I have few cases over there. I have some human rights cases. And so I'm fairly familiar with the industry, different angles of it. So I joined the Paralegal Association a few months ago. And actually interesting, like thinking backwards, I don't know why I would not join earlier. It's just nobody approached me. I mean, there are so many benefits joining it, even financial benefits. Why not? Like, there are some products they are offering, which I'm currently using. I just didn't, the message to join them was not somehow, didn't meet my destination. So this is one of the things, by the way, which I'm planning to advocate for if I'm elected to be on the board of the OPA. I think it needs to be more promoted. Part of promoting it, in my view, should be offering actually lower annual fees, because I'm a firm believer that you offer lower fees, you get more membership, and then you are not reducing your revenue by reducing the fees. To the contrary.
Yeah, so let me jump in there, Yuri, again, and let's talk about, so you mentioned, no, it's only been a few months. You joined the OPA. I'm not really sure why it took you that long, but you're a member, and then a few months later, you're like, I'm ready to run for the board of directors of this organization. And you talked a little bit there about fees and maybe lowering fees, and the turnaround being, if it's a little lower, then you might get more members, and it'll end up with more revenue, but also a larger membership. So maybe you could tell us a little bit more about some of those ideas or other ideas you have if you're elected to be on the board.
Oh, that's what I'm telling you. I want to lower membership fees in order to increase the turnover, to increase the amount of people that would be willing to join in. I want to offer CPDs, of which would be more, which people would be taking, not in order to pass their to do their duty to sit certain amount of hours in class every year, but something that would actually be catchy, something which people would appreciate. And there are topics like that. Some of them are provocative, some of them are just very much hands-on. And in the last few years, when I was increasingly more and more involved in the business of being paralegal, I see the need for certain programs which I would highly benefit from myself. And I don't see them being things like that being offered yet. Some courses are very good, but most of them are they're not there yet. So I want to give courses that people will actually appreciate, and which is also, by the way, attracting more members. And if you could charge something for that, it would attract both revenue and membership. And I want this organization to become substantially more transparent than it is now, substantially more transparent. Because even as of today, I have no clear understanding how their election is running, how you, who is counting the votes. I was not able to get the clarity. I mean, even assuming everything's fine, the fact itself that it's not transparent is not right. The voting members, of all the members, should know what's going on what is going on in the organization. It's not somebody like behind the scene running it, and here you are. Now, people need to know. People need to be involved.
Yeah, so I mean, it's interesting, right? I mean, you're talking about transparency, and you're relatively new to the organization. I mean, are you familiar with OPA from before? Even I know you weren't a member till recently, but do you kind of have an understanding of some of the history there and how involved they've been?
John, I do not know the history. I know one thing. I decided to run. I got to the sheet where it explains how to become a candidate. So I filled it out, and I sent it to the email address where it directed me to send it. And then I see that my name doesn't appear anywhere. I finally reached out to the election committee, which apparently is a one-man show. I told him, well, what's happening? And then I find out that the address provided is not even monitored. So my application went nowhere to begin with. And when I asked him a question why it is so, he refused to talk about it. Let's be open. I mean, the mistakes happen, but please be open. Like, tell me what's happening. Why I was misdirected over here. I want to know why. I'm not saying in a mean way. I just was disclose. Tell me what's happening. And the answer is, I don't want to talk about it. Okay. You cannot run an organization like that. Paralegals are not sheep. Paralegals ask questions. That's what we do for life. We litigate. We ask questions. We inquire. We cross-examine. Why would this organization be so close that everything, basic things are decided behind closed doors, and members do not have an ability to not even control, just even to know what's going on? That's not right. And I'm going to change it.
Okay, so let's maybe talk more about some of these changes that you'd like to see. I mean, again, coming in relatively new, I think that's great. Fresh perspective. We don't have to go back to here's how things used to be and what went wrong. But I mean, let's look at things as a relatively newly licensed. I mean, it's been a few years since you were back in the classroom there with me, but still within the last 5 years, right? I mean, there's a lot of new paralegals coming out. So what do you think are the things that they're hoping to get out of a paralegal association, right? What do you think, you're like yourself, what do you think can be done for these newer licensed paralegals, let's say in the last 5 years, that they need, and organizations like the OPA that you're running for as the board can do for them?
I keep telling you, we need to attract members. We need to provide them services that that the currently provided, you could provide a lot more than that. You could negotiate better deals even with insurance. Like right currently, if you are insured, if you are a member with the OPA, then you get a preferred insurance rate. This is with the few hundred members that we have. Imagine we have 2,000 members. What will happen then with the insurance rate? It will be cheaper for everybody. You know, I personally believe that we as paralegals overpay for insurance quite a bit, because like the amount of money that we are dealing is nowhere close to where the lawyers are dealing, and the amount of the insurance premiums do not reflect the difference. I don't think it's market based, and it could be corrected with the negotiating power. Let's get all together. Let's advocate on our own behalf. If you could advocate for others, why should not we be able to advocate for ourselves?
Yeah, so I mean, certainly, obviously, the more members, the better bargaining power you can have with, an insurance company, amongst other things. But I mean, in terms of, there's an expression, if you build it, they will come, right? So if you have people coming in, you want to bring people in, one, you see lower the price, but and we were talking about CPDs and making them informative and useful. But what else to reach out to the new members, right? I mean, I was talking with Bruce a couple of weeks ago, and I think the number he'd mentioned, it may have been changed, it may have changed since then, but I think the number he quoted me on was about 400 members right now. I mean, at one point, I think they had 1,000 members or something along there. And again, I'm not really sure of historically where it was at, but I mean, roughly, there's about 10,000 or so paralegals licensed, and there's roughly about 3,000 or so paralegals practicing. So for the Ontario Paralegal Association to say, we have 402 members, as you said, I mean, in terms of a voice, that seems difficult to go to the Law Society and sit down and say, I have 402 members that are supporters.
This is another point. You're getting to a very political point and a very correct point. To advocate in front of Law Society, this is definitely something we should be doing. But I feel that at this point, Law Society is looking at this association with 400 members, which is basically about 10% or 11% of active paralegals are joining it. They think it's a joke. It has to change. We need to get all together. Our voice needs to be heard. I know, like the way it's run now, and by the way, I think it's not correct. It's not quite fair that the Law Society is overwhelmed. It's oversaturated. It's overwhelmed with the lawyer kind of attitudes towards paralegals. The Law Society looks at paralegals as almost like, no, we are here and you are there. And that's not how that should not be like that. We are all together. We are doing legal work, whatever is within our scope of practice. We need to be better representative of it. And if I cannot change Law Society, I mean, how Law Society is comprised is not within my control. But to get a voice, a strong voice, as an advocacy on their behalf, for that we just need numbers. We need to somebody from the OPA needs to come to them and say, I'm representing over here over half of practicing paralegals. Okay, now we are talking. It's hard to ignore this kind of voice. Okay, we have 400 paralegals, which are it's not quite doing the trick. And once you mentioned that, I would strongly consider getting involved not only in advocacy in front of the Law Society, but perhaps in the even in litigating certain issues. Like, as you know, right now there is a lawsuit going on against law society for not letting paralegals practice practice the whole scope of immigration. This is something which I never, like, from when you taught us, I never understood where is that idea that in immigration, paralegals are only allowed to do this and they are not allowed to do that. I never understood where it is coming from, like legally. And the more I researched it, the more I figured out that it appears to be a totally bogus decision. Somebody which is not rooted and not founded in law. I could tell you that I called law society helpline multiple times. And I asked him this question: why cannot I, as a paralegal, do process somebody's immigration paper? Where does it say? And they keep telling me it says in the bylaw. Well, the bylaw does not say that. Then they started interpreting the bylaw, and I noticed that they interpret it differently every time. That it looks like they. At one time they tell me because filling out paperwork is not advocacy. And then I say, well, but why is it not advocacy? There are many tribunals which are only functioning by written submission. And I don't know if you ever saw immigration application. It is advocacy. You advocate for the person. You want to get a result. And you want to explain to the ministry why this person should be granted residency status in Canada. It's advocacy. So then the decision say, oh, because the ministry is not a tribunal. So why is it not a tribunal? The decision is being made and somebody's right is being determined. By definition, it is a tribunal. There are multiple statutes which define what tribunal means. Tribunal doesn't have to be a tax tribunal. Any body which is making decisions is tribunal by definition. And then we go back, oh, but it's not advocacy, but it's a tribunal. And then at one time they admitted to me, well, actually we know it doesn't make any sense. Okay. So here we go. Somebody is in, you may be familiar, there is a ruling from Supreme Court which says that deciding in the absence of statute or of authority is overstepping boundary. Now, for somebody to decide based on regulation which does not exist, it is quite serious, and it's quite, I should say, strange at least to see that out of everybody, the law society, which should know that we don't decide on, in the absence of statute, they're actually taking this kind of approach, which when they prohibit us from doing something, and they fail to provide law source for that. The only law source is their own. It's not even an interpretation. It's like it's their decision, which they want somehow to apply from the bylaw, which doesn't even speak about. It's strange. I definitely, once I am a member of the board of OPA, I would advocate for that. This thing has to change.
Now, Yuri, why OPA and not, going? No, I mean, certainly, you brought up immigration here, and there are people that are, pursuing this litigation sort of individually, right? I mean, why do you think OPA, as it is currently constructed, right, in terms of, what's been going on, and you've highlighted some of the difficulties, the membership now shrinking to around 400. I mean, is this something, if you're elected, how in terms of restoring, let's say, this credibility versus, I mean, just doing some of that advocacy work, with others that are already pushing those, right? Like, why coming out of the name OPA rather than, doing it on your own, doing it with some other colleagues, the same kinds of things like immigration that you're talking about. because you could start a group and build it up, right? The same way,
You're suggesting to open my own association in
not
parallel?
necessarily an association, but get like, I mean, do you think then within the OPA, I mean, you could certainly have like an advocacy group, right? You can create like a group, a networking group, right? A group of concerned immigration practitioners, what have you, right? But I mean, where do you see the value in going to the OPA and saying, let's build this organization back up? I mean, there's all sorts of litigation, and the membership has dwindled, and is it something that you could see if coming on the board? Here's how we can stem the tide, or I mean, and that's why I'm presuming running, right? Is that I think we can stop this and we can restore this, and mindful, you don't know all 15 years or 20 years of how far back it goes, but today, in 2023, what can the OPA be doing? And we're keep talking about membership and growing the membership, but like what convinced you in 2023 to join that you think is going to convince other people who aren't members to either rejoin or join now for the first time?
Actually, once I looked into it, there was no reason for me not to join. Just the message never got to me. It's not advertised. The benefits of that or of this joining are not known enough, are not advertised enough. And even I spoke since I joined, I spoke to multiple friends of mine who are very involved in paralegal business. I think, no, I'm not a member, and why not? I asked them a simple question: are you using this, and this product? Yeah, well, becoming a member, you will be saving more than you pay on the membership. So why don't you join? Oh, I never thought of that. Okay, so here you go. So there is some lacking in giving over the message. We need to, I don't know why it is, but I know that when I campaign for something, I network. I did it in my real estate business for many years. Same thing I do, same thing we do over here. You build a network of people, and each one of them spread, and it's an easy message to deliver because it's so beneficial for everybody. And it's not hard to do. It's not demanding from you to do a lot. It's actually giving you more than it's taken from you. So it's just something that needs to be done.
Yeah, I mean, certainly, obviously, just one.
There is no reason, because of that, there is no reason to start from scratch. I mean, we have some foundation over here which could be utilized. Why not to build on something which is already existing?
Yeah, and certainly, again, just simply getting the message out, right? Saying, hey, there is this organization, it's called OPA. I mean, particular for newer licensees who may not have, like you said, an understanding of this history of where it was years and years ago. I mean, you're just licensed and you're looking for resources and tools to help you better grow as a licensee. And even if it's just simply getting that message out, that's going to get some new members. Lowering the fees, of course, going to get some new members. Having more CPDs and events where people come and then they sign up for the membership, going to get new members. Focusing on things, as you pointed out, immigration, scope, those are going to draw new members to who want to go get behind that. Is there anything else that the OPA could be doing, if you're elected as a member of the board, that you think is going to grow, the 2,800 others who are practicing paralegals, and even the 7,000, or sorry, the 9,500 people who are licensed. Plus, I mean, don't forget there's also associate members and not associate student members who aren't licensed yet, right? So what else can be done to get all these people in?
When I was in your class, I became a member of OPA as a student. And
it was free when you were in my class, I believe, right? I feel like
it was free. And I was already I was on the mail list. There's nothing catchy over there that would prompt me to actually continue into the membership path to being a student, like to get a license, become a full member. It would be easy sale to make. but that sale was not made for some reason. The message was not delivered to me. That's another thing I think that should be done. OPA should be going to the colleges and presenting their case. It's something that could be done.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I know I've had, I mean, different people in OPA over the years come and talk. Not much recently. I mean, but I mean, I'd agree, right? I mean, if you go to the 25, I think 24 accredited colleges, you get one member or someone on the board, depending on in the area, and you say, hey, here's what OPA is, and you should join as student members now. And then, when people get licensed, you say, congratulations on getting your license. How about you become a full-time member, because they're already part of the list, and they'll share the good news, and maybe that'll get them to stay on and now become full members, right? But yeah, I mean, anything else? I mean, you're running, you're hoping to get elected on Saturday. Anything else from you about why people should support you this weekend?
I think what I said is enough. I'm not looking to overpromise and underdeliver. I think that things which I mentioned now, they're pretty simple, they're pretty attainable, and they are attainable within reasonably close time and reasonably not overwhelming like power spent on that. Because obviously the job is it is volunteering your time, so you can't just it cannot become a full-time job. So given that, I see that the goals which are set now, they are beneficial, they are attainable, and they are something which and these are the goals with which the paralegal community would affiliate with. They will feel that this is what we want to do. A substantial amount of people would feel attracted to the idea.
Perfect. So Yuri, thanks so much for joining us here, taking the time, and nice connecting again. It's been a few years since, like you said, you were in my class, I think in 2018, 2019. So all the best. I know,
I think it was actually 17.
Or even 17. Yeah. So 2017. But again, all the best there on the weekend. I know, I don't know if you're going to be able to attend in person there, but nonetheless, good luck with everything, and hope we can chat again about a bit more about your practice outside of the election, sometime in the future.
Okay, we will.
Thanks, and thanks everyone for tuning in. Take care.